Hello everyone, today is week number 2 of our composer profiles. Today we're going to be talking about Gustav Mahler. Let's get started. Well, first off, Gustav Mahler was born in Kalista, Bohemia, which is now a part of modern-day Czech Republic. He was born on July 7th of 1860 to an Austrian Jewish family. His family lived in a very humbling lifestyle, mostly due to their native language and their Jewish heritage, which caused young Gustav to feel like an outsider. Now, not long after Gustav was born, his parents moved from Kaliste to a town called Iglau. I hope I'm saying that right. I'll just put it here, okay? Here, this is where I will put all words I cannot pronounce right here. Well, anyway, they moved from Kaliste to that word, which was a very thriving town southeast of Kaliste. It's here that Gustav's father, Bernhard, began working as an innkeeper, and the family began to grow. Gustav was the second of 14 children, only 6 of which survived infancy. It was very common during that time for little children who were sick or diseased when they were young to die because they didn't have the medical equipment to treat them. So like I mentioned earlier, because of his native language and his Jewish ancestry, Gustav was virtually the lowest totem on the totem pole. So an outlet that he used to deal with the stress and the depression that came along with that was music. Now, it was between the ages of 4 and 6, Gustav began receiving piano lessons, and by the time he was 10, he completed his first public performance. Seeing the progress that his son was making, Gustav's father thought that he would be able to attend the Vienna Conservatory. And sure enough, in 1875, Gustav did just that, enrolling in the Vienna Conservatory at the ripe old age of 15. That's right, 15. That's how old I was when I got my first photo of a train published in a magazine. I mean, that's kind of good, right? I mean, that's also cool. I'll just get on with the story. Anyway, during his time at the conservatory, he studied piano with Julius Epstein, with the addition of harmony and composition with other well-known teachers at the time. Also during his time there, he took a liking to the compositions of Richard Wagner. In 1878, Gustav left the conservatory and enrolled in the University of Vienna, where in addition to music, he studied literature and philosophy. He also worked on the side a little bit as a piano teacher, while working on his first major composition, which is this. I'm not going to try to pronounce that, but translated it means the Song of Lamentation. And though he continued composing throughout his life, Gustav was primarily known as a conductor. His first conducting experience, might I add, was at Bad Hall. Terrible name for a concert hall, might I add, but that's beside the point. Anyway, it was a small Austrian provincial theater where Gustav conducted a summer theater production in 1880. After much success there, he proceeded to move on to much larger venues in the following years, including this place, and here's a list. Here's a list. I cannot pronounce these foreign names. I'm American. I don't know how to pronounce these things. But throughout all of these wonderful venues, Gustav firmed his reputation amongst his peers as being a fabulous conductor. Now, in the early 1890s, Gustav was finally appointed his first long-term position at the Hamburg Opera, where he reportedly worked from 1891 to 1897. Then in 1897, Gustav received his biggest break yet, and that was becoming the musical director of the Vienna Court Opera. Now at this point, Gustav had to convert from Judaism to Roman Catholicism because Jews were not allowed to hold the position. It was during that time in the position where he traveled mostly throughout Europe, making himself very well known and respected. Now, he held the position at the Vienna Court Opera for 10 years until 1907, like I mentioned, when emotional strains and the push of anti-Semitism began to get too much for him. But throughout his time there, Gustav was able to transform the institution's repertoire and raise the artistic standards of the Vienna Court Opera, bending both performers and listeners at his very command. Now, Gustav did marry a fellow composer, Alma Marie Schindler, in 1902, and the couple had 2 daughters from the marriage, which was also said to have had its ups and downs, like any kind of marriage did, even back then. They had issues. Now, in 1908, Gustav received an offer from the Metropolitan Opera in New York, at which he left Vienna for America. Upon there, he signed a contract to conduct the well-known New York Philharmonic Orchestra. It was during a rather heavy concert season in 1911 that Gustav fell very ill with a streptococcal blood infection. He returned to Vienna that year as his condition worsened and sadly succumbed to his condition on May 18, 1911, at the age of 50. Now, Gustav's music was strictly symphonic, meaning he wrote symphonies and pretty much only symphonies, with the exception of several song cycles that had folk influences. His main body of work, though, includes 10 symphonies. The latter, his last symphony, 10th Symphony, was unfinished at the time of his death in 1911. Each of these symphonies is very emotional and drawn out. His third symphony, for example, is one of the longest symphonies ever performed and is currently the longest of all symphonies in the general symphonic repertoire. And performance time for that is generally a little over an hour and a half. Now, while I've never played in an orchestra simply because I'm a saxophone player and people don't usually associate saxophone with orchestra, though that's not true anymore, I do happen to enjoy listening to the orchestra music, in particular the music of Gustav Mahler. Some of his symphonies are known for featuring different instruments, such as the famous trombone solo in his third symphony. Thank you all again for watching this. This has been the second installment of our weekly composer profile series. I am thoroughly enjoying doing these. I hope you are enjoying watching them. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend, and I will see you all on Monday.